It's all about making sure your vote counts. From Fulton County, Georgia to the halls of the Supreme Court, we're going to break it down. Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and I'm here with Kelly Hyman, and this is The Breakdown. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Legal AF for all the things at the intersection of law and politics. So, recent events, very disturbing in terms of the FBI serving a warrant and searching the Fulton County Supervisor of Elections office and basically taking possession of ballots from the 2020 presidential election. Now, this is all part of the revenge tour that the president is doing because he swears that the election was stolen from him. And even though it's been proved to be baseless 10 different ways from sunrise, he still is continuing on this rant, clearly to distract from the Epstein files. But with that being said, and that sort of attack in terms of the integrity of ballots and all of that, the Supreme Court addressing a similar issue, which could really impact the way you vote and how your votes are counted. So this is the Bost versus the Illinois State Board of Elections. And the main question here is whether or not an Illinois congressman and others challenging the state's policy of counting mail-in ballots that arrive after election day. So basically, can they challenge this, right? Some Democratic states have a practice where as long as your mail-in ballot is postmarked by election day, your vote still gets counted. Now, it's postmarked by election day, but clearly it's going to arrive after election day. So now Republican Congress, this Republican, candidate was basically like, no, I'm missing, you guys are counting too many votes basically. And it caused me to lose. And I'm not like happy about this. Right. So with all that being said, Kelly, thoughts?
Voting is a fundamental right. So it's important that you exercise that right and get out there and vote in November. Also, if there's any other vote coming up where you live, exercise that right, because that is your voice. That is your decision. And ultimately, your vote does count. Your vote does matter.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when I was in Florida, and it was 2016 election, and I was a poll watcher during that time. I was a poll watcher for the Democratic Party, and I was there to protect people's vote. And I'll never forget that a woman came to vote, and she hadn't voted since, my recollection was since Bill Clinton, but she really wanted to get out there and vote. And in Florida at that time, if you don't vote after a certain period of time, you're off the registry, so to speak, and you can't vote.
Insanity.
And I'll never forget being there, feeling helpless. I don't know who the woman was going to vote for, but from the fundamental rights standpoint, and I went to one of the workers and I was like, and she's like, I'll register right here, right? I'll register right now. And they said, I'm sorry. You can't, you got kicked off and you have to re-register and go through the process. So goes back to my point is make sure you can go online, you can check and make sure that you're registered, you know where you're supposed to go to the polling place, and you have all that information, because knowledge is power. And so the fact that people's rights, mail-in votes could potentially be harmed, as someone who is mailed in my voting stuff, whether it's because I'm traveling for work or I'm in a trial and then I can't actually physically get to my poll, to know that if it gets late because of some other problem or issue, or that it's not going to be counted. And so it's upsetting from a fundamental right, because that is our right to get out there and vote. And no one should try and suppress other people's vote, because if you believe in democracy, if you believe that everyone should get the opportunity to express themselves, then why would you want to suppress people's vote?
Well, that's easy. To maintain power. That would be why, right? But all great points, Kelly, because, and I'm going to, we're going to drop some assets so that y'all be able to have resources on how to register to vote, how to track your mail-in ballot, how to actually vote in your state, what are the rules, things like that. Someone who lives in Florida, I can attest to everything that Kelly's saying. And, you don't want to find out when you've made the trip to the polling place, you've stood in line in the heat. You don't want to get there and find out, oh, surprise, guess what? You're not registered to vote. Thanks for playing, go back home, right?
Or you're at the wrong precinct. And that's why it's important to know your rights and know what questions they can ask you. Because sometimes, they might ask you something that they're not supposed to ask you or don't have the right to ask you. And so it's really important. Knowledge is power, to know exactly where to go, what you need. And so that way, when it happens, you are ready, whether it's, bringing a chair if you're going to sit in line, or, bringing yourself some water or some snacks, because some states don't allow people to hand out a water when there's line around the corner. And so make sure that you are prepared, and you can never be prepared enough, in a sense of looking and making sure you're registered, knowing where to go. And if you decide to go, early, which I would urge people to go to, know exactly where you can go, what your polling place, that it's all the information is correct. If you moved, there's, numbers that you can call, toll-free numbers, that can give you the information that you need.
For sure. But so, circling back to this case, I am very deeply concerned, because I think in the interest of democracy, it should be made easier to vote, not harder. There are other countries that you can, literally vote via the internet in one way, shape, or form. I believe Iceland is one. There's always Scandinavia. They're always on the cutting edge of everything. So, there are actual models where, because again, it's like, if it's tied to your social security number, if it's, a secured site, et cetera, same way you can use a secure site to pay your taxes or whatever, same kind of mentality in terms of voting. But all of that aside, things like same day voter registration, automatic voter registration when you turn, 18 type of thing, right? So you get your driver's license and you're pre-registered to vote, and then boom, you're registered to vote, that sort of thing. Not picking a party, right? You have to go in and select the party, but you are automatically in the system to be registered to vote. Like, those types of things to me are so important for everyone. And I don't care what your party is, man. I just want you to vote. Like, you gotta be able to raise your voice and be able to weigh in what direction our country should go, because that is what's so special about America and about the concept of democracy, is that ability to hire and fire those people that represent us, those people that, they're going up to your state capitol or they're going up to the US Capitol, and are they acting in a manner that's consistent and reflects the needs of the people that they serve, right? And so now in this scenario, if the Supreme Court ends up ruling in favor of Bost, then now we're in a deeper situation, because that is now cutting back on how people can make sure that their votes are counted. And any retreat from voting rights to me is a problem. So this is one I'm going to be watching very closely, because this is deeply, deeply concerning. And it should concern anybody who really, truly cares about democracy. Final thought, Kelly?
Power to the people. Get out there and vote.
All power to the people. That's for sure. I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and I'm with Kelly Hyman, and this was The Breakdown. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep demanding justice. Take care.
In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.